A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John, chapter 6, verses 44 to 51. Passage taken from the Message version of the Bible. Jesus said, "Don't bicker among yourselves over me. You're not in charge here. The Father who sent me is in charge. He draws people to me. That's the only way you'll ever come. Only then do I do my work, putting people together, setting them on their feet, ready for the end." This is what the prophets meant when they wrote, and then they will all be personally taught by God. Anyone who has spent any time at all listening to the Father, really listening and therefore learning, comes to me to be taught personally, to see it with his own eyes, hear it with his own ears. For me, since I have it firsthand from the Father, no one has seen the Father except the one who has his being alongside the Father, and you can see me. I'm telling you the most solemn and sober truth now. Whoever believes in me has real life, eternal life. I am the bread of life. Your ancestor ate the manna bread in the desert and died. But now, here is bread that truly comes down out of heaven. Anyone eating this bread will not die ever. I am the bread, living bread, who came down out of heaven. Anyone who eats this bread will live and forever. The bread that I present to the world so that it can eat and live is myself, this flesh and blood self. The Gospel of the Lord.
Reflections on the Gospel according to John chapter 6, verses 44 to 51. Through the first part of the Gospel today, the evangelist is synthesizing this important teaching of Jesus that we have been reflecting in the past couple of days. These are the important points of Jesus' exhortation. The Father in heaven is the initiator and source of all lives. The Father wants to nourish the lives of His people with the bread from heaven. The bread from heaven that gives life is Jesus, who is sent by the Father. Jesus, coming from the Father, is focused on doing the will of His Father. And the will of His Father is that no one should be lost. All those who come to Jesus and believe in Him enjoy life with Jesus and the Father forever. John was confronting the problem of unbelief among the people towards the end of the first century. Therefore, he wants to remind his people through the words of Jesus that no one comes to know Jesus unless the Father draws them to Him. Those who refuse to accept and assimilate empathy, compassion, and love of God cannot accept Jesus either. Jesus promises eternal life to those who believe in Him. Eternal life is not something that we attain after our death. Rather, we are already living that life with Jesus and the Father. Whoever believes, lives in Jesus. Jesus is the bread that came down from heaven, and whoever eats this bread, which is His body, does not die. Therefore, as we believe in God and assimilate the person of Jesus by eating His flesh, we are participating in eternal life. To avoid misinterpreting the meaning of Jesus' invitation to eat His flesh, we must keep in mind what this term means in the Gospel of John. The Semitic concept of the flesh is not identified with muscles. Instead, it referred to the whole person but destined to die. In the prologue of his Gospel, John says, "The Word was made flesh." He did not refer to the fact that the Son of God assumed the outward appearance of a man, but that He made Himself similar to us. welcoming even the weakest nature of our human condition. Therefore, the phrase, "eat my flesh," means much more than eating the Eucharistic bread. It means to assimilate the person of Jesus and thereby live as another Christ with flesh and blood. This is the huge challenge that the Lord places before us, to become another Christ.